Everybody, we're back once again with another great episode of the Apex F1 podcast. I'm Josh. I'm joined here with my friends, and we're going to talk everything about the Mexico Grand Prix, which, spoiler, might have been the race of the year. So
Did not disappoint.
No,
it was
at all.
spicy from start to finish.
What an absolute banger! And who cares that the guy that won was 30 seconds ahead? That absolutely made no difference. But everything that happened behind him was spicy from lap 1 to lap 71. It was full, it was packed, and we're going to talk everything about it. So I'm going to introduce my buddies right here to my right on my screen. I've got Paul. Paul, man, your kind of home race. How was it?
Dude, my people never disappoint. I love Mexican. I love being Mexican. It was the best. Hey, everybody, I'm Paul. Good talking to you guys. Hope everybody had a great weekend. But yes, it's really turning into one of my favorite races of the year. Man, it was just amazing.
Oof,
yeah,
man, well, it was fantastic. Meredith, what'd you think?
I mean, outside of the fact that my favorite driver had a perfect start and then led the race and is now leading the World Drivers' Championship.
Way to drop the spoiler in the first minute and a half.
Absolute best race of the season, no doubt. Action from beginning to end. We had some people that watched on the patio at the club with us that we met Friday night that they'd never watched an F1 race. And I looked at them at the end of the race and I was like, you picked the absolute best race imaginable to start watching F1. And he was like, this was insane. I did not expect it to be that exciting. So I was in awe. I was screaming. I was probably causing a scene. Amazing.
Yeah, well, I hate to tell your friends, but maybe don't get their hopes up for that kind of a race every weekend. To set the bar real high, you got to get the expectations tempered a little bit because that was magnificent. Everything about it was just great. So I'm going to start off by just going a little bit through the early part of the weekend. We had a lot of fun moments. Loving the George Russell hiding in the stands for FP1. What a funny one that was. I wasn't expecting that. That was great from George. I thought that was real clever, real funny. And
totally redeemed himself in my mind. Like, it showed me a side of George that, like, I always hoped existed, you know? Like, there's something that makes George so easy to not like. I don't know what it is, but there's something that makes him so easy to not like.
It's his posh English demeanor, and it comes
this
across
just
as
made him
arrogant.
So relatable. It felt so real, so fun. Even like the caption of it, just like hadn't watched an F1 race myself in a minute. Like loved it, loved everything about it. Don't know if it was marketing's idea or his, but absolutely was so excited to see that. Loved that.
And I just think more F1 drivers should do that. I think sometimes we forget that they're humans, and when they do things like this and can kind of interact with the fans, it's just so cool to take that away and just like be at one with the fans, which is so cool.
Yeah, well, the session that he ended up watching was Free Practice 1, and the reason that he was able to go in the stands and watch was because we had a host of really good rookie caliber talent that could be the next faces in Formula One getting some time in the car during that Free Practice 1 session. So were there any names that stuck out to you guys? I know we got to see Pato O'Ward get his moment in the McLaren. I think he's done one before, has he not? He's done a free practice.
Yeah, he's done Mexico City a few times, and then he's had a couple other ones that he's gotten to do as well. But I know it means a lot to him doing it in Mexico City.
Yes, we had Pato, and the other one I'll mention briefly before I go to you guys was Lindblad for Red Bull. Jumping in there.
Yeah. I mean, Arvid, I got to see Arvid last year when he did the Red Bull show run here in Houston. And I mean, at this time, he was still in F3. And watching him and David Coulthard go, like, do what they did down in our downtown in Houston, it is tight. Those streets are so tight. So to be watching them come up to top speeds, scream, donut the car, like to watch him execute that, I was like, oh, this is someone to keep your eye on. And then not long after we went to that and saw that, he got promoted to F2. He's been doing so well in F2 this season. So, I mean, I think it's been really exciting to watch him. I think Helmut's push for him this weekend was just to not wreck the car, not do anything. And to me, this was his test to see if he'd be ready for VCARB for next year, which I think is happening. I think Yuki's out in the Red Bull Racing family. I think they'll move Isaac up. And then I think it would be Liam and Arvid at VCARB next year, which I hate it for Yuki. Love Yuki, Yuki Hive, but I genuinely do think Arvid deserves a seat in F1, and I think that Red Bull Academy has been developing him for years, so it would be really exciting to see him on that V-Carb team. Did you see anybody else, Paul, that you thought about? I was going to look back at some of the FP1. I know we were recording right when it happened.
We recorded after it had just ended. For my big one was Paul Aaron, and especially with the conversations of is he getting that other Alpine seat? What's going to happen with Franco?
Yeah.
So it was just for the news itself, it was just nice to see Paul Aaron and see how well he did against Franco. Spoiler: Franco won that one, but it just kind of spices things up, especially because, spoiler, Alpine didn't have a great showing in Mexico, and Franco had an awful qualifying, but did not. Fabio was not a fan of that. 4 races to go. Is this the end of Franco, or what's really going to happen there?
I don't know. Part of me wants him to be done at Alpine. I would rather him be back in the Williams family and be developing under Carlos and Alex and be in a team that really sees longevity for their drivers. Alpine changes their drivers out like hot seats, right? Like they give them a couple of races and then that's that. And I think we saw Colapinto deliver in the Williams last year. I almost would rather for his career not have a Mick Schumacher situation where we just write him off. I'd rather him go back, be under a team where they develop him, and then the right opportunity presents itself if and when Alex or Carlos leaves Williams. I don't know. It's kind of like one of those situations where it's like you got like Jack Crawford, who did FP1 for Aston Martin. I actually really think Jack Crawford being in the Aston Martin development program I think that's a good move for him. Nando's not going to drive forever. Stroll's not going to drive forever. So it's kind of like thinking about where do they have the best future chance?
Yeah, I think that's a gamble in itself. We've seen, Drugovich sit there in the Aston Martin and kind of struggle to find a seat. And that's kind of the case with a lot of drivers over the last several years. It's really difficult to get a seat, and so you have to make these opportunities really count when you can get them. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, another big part of this conversation is how much money that Franco brings in from that South American business aspect of things. There's only 2 South American drivers right now, and they're both rookies, and so they're both going to be vying for a lot of sponsorships and business opportunities. And with Alpine struggling on that front and needing every dime that they can find, that may be a big reason that they would keep him in the seat for next year, is just purely just money, just what funding, what he brings to the table as far as sponsorships and funding, as opposed to whatever Paul Aaron can bring. I'm not sure what his situation is, but I've heard very strongly that was a reason that Franco was brought over to that team to begin with.
Yeah. Well, I think that makes sense too. I mean, like if you look at the performance of, Paul Aaron in FP1 to where Colapinto was in the race, like Colapinto actually ended up doing reasonably well based on where he started in his race result. It's not like he's delivering points and podiums, but he's not crashing out. I mean, it's not like Pierre Gasly is massively outperforming him.
No, they both finished Gasly 15th, Colapinto 16th, but that's because 4 other drivers had a DNF. So
yeah,
four drivers.
Four.
God, it's.
Yeah. I'm like, no, I can't. Yep, count. Yeah, when you questioned, I was like, damn, I know I can count. But yeah, going back to FP1, the biggest one and the headline coming out of it was Pato had to be rushed to the hospital after his FP1 session. I guess he drank some of that Mexican water.
Drank that water,
and it did not go well. He went to the hospital with a stomach bug and dehydration. So he was not in tip-top physical shape, which sucks because somebody was talking about, this year he got stuck with the stomach bug while driving, and then last year there was issues with the car and a couple safety flags. So he really, for 2 years in a row, we really haven't been able to see that true potential with him in that McLaren car. Ultimately, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. I hate to say it, I don't see a path for him in one, but it's just, as a fan of Pato, as a fan of what he's done, it's just nice to see him in that car. And possibly, a dream of what it could be. I just don't see it ever being a reality.
Did you see his interview where he said, even if I did get a chance in Formula One, I would take my chance and I would do it. But he said I would absolutely come back to IndyCar. IndyCar is my home. And I just think that speaks volumes about, the career he's built in IndyCar. And he does genuinely love it. I think for some drivers, it almost seems like they use IndyCar as a stepping stone because it's single-seater racing, and they try to do that to eventually find a way into F1. But I really like that that view that he had on it, that like, yeah, of course I'd love to be in F1, but I'd always come back to IndyCar. It's my home. I thought that was cool.
Absolutely. And I think IndyCar he's really made a name for himself. He's synonymous with that brand now, and I think you can't divorce those two. IndyCar goes with Pato as of late.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see IndyCar just exploit that a bit more and put them out there a lot more than they already have.
I think with the season, all the commercials that IndyCar did with the drivers this last season, there was a lot on like Joseph Newgarden, right?
Yeah.
Like Pato had some commercials. Joseph Newgarden had a lot of stuff. Joseph Newgarden's not a super marketable driver right now. Like after this season he had, so maybe they will leverage Pato a little bit more. I see there being a lot of stuff with Alex Palou. I see there being a lot of stuff with Pato, which like it's got to be great for both fan bases. Like you got Alex Palou from Spain, you got Pato from Mexico. Like what a great story to bring in an entirely different audience. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I wonder how ill he really was coming into that drive. We've seen drivers in the past that have toughed it out and sucked it up and driven sick. George just did it a couple weekends ago. But I just wonder, how sick he was throughout the weekend and how much that actually did affect him, or was it just purely the heat while participating in that session that kind of exacerbated it? So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, and it's one of those things we'll never really get an answer to, but I can't imagine those G-forces do well with when you got the runs in your tummy. That cannot go well.
Biscuit Paul had to hear about Biscuit's stomach problems today, and I imagine throwing some G's on that. No, thank you. It's like, have you ever been car sick, and someone like takes a turn and you're like, I can't imagine.
It's happening.
Because when you're nauseous or like your stomach is upset, you also get such bad like vertigo, like you just like can't orient. So I would imagine it's also a little bit dangerous when they're at that point of being sick. Like it's different if you have a head cold maybe, but when you're actually nauseous and it's impacting your balance and your perceptions, dangerous.
Absolutely.
That's gotta be tough. But speaking of, kind of the American front with IndyCar, another big story of the weekend is another opportunity for Cadillac. This is, I think, the second time that Cadillac has participated, air quotes, participated in a full session throughout the weekend. They used their simulators and their performance team as well as their command center, and they simulated every session live as it happened in race conditions, and really, I guess all they were trying to do is collect as much data as possible and get those reps in to see where they can improve now before they get to do it in the real deal next year. They
I
did.
just gotta
Yeah,
imagine that. Sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna say, I gotta imagine that, like, as the Mexican fan base, like Checo being back at a Grand Prix, knowing he's gonna be on the grid next year, like I would have been over the moon excited. Like, can you imagine? You're just like walking, and then you get to see like Checo. Like, I don't know, it's just so cool. Like having Checo back at the Mexican Grand Prix felt right. Felt right.
And some of his interviews, and it was just great to see. And the big one that sticks out to me was he was talking about his time with Red Bull, and he said the thing he looked forward to the most was when he signed that to cancel his contract out, because it just felt like the weight of the world finally came off his shoulders. So it truly goes to show the level of stress that second driver is in is just immense. It was just good to see him because they are synonymous. It's like one with the other, and it was tough to see Sunday and he wasn't on the track.
Yeah.
But that's only a 1 year thing. He'll be back next year. But hopefully Cadillac had some great results in their simulator, and they can, move in the right direction and kind of hit the ground running for next year.
Yeah, so my curiosity is two-parted. First part is why I understand Valtteri, right? He's got obligations during the race weekend as a reserve driver for Mercedes. But why was Checo not in the house working either in the simulator or just behind the scenes reviewing data and giving his input? Instead of, I know he's doing PR and stuff, but
I was gonna say PR.
But he wasn't there on Sunday. Like he was only there earlier in the week. So maybe Sunday he was somewhere driving a simulator. I mean, the only research, because I wrote that note, the only research I was able to do is that they're running a whole weekend in the simulator and throughout their locations around the globe, wherever they are. So maybe Sunday was his time to get in the wheel and drive those simulated 70.
And then
I would imagine that there's a lot of PR that has to go in right now. I would just imagine, especially with it being his home race, I would imagine that Cadillac would go, you're not actually racing. So let's get what we can out of you from a PR and marketing standpoint. It's the Mexican Grand Prix, getting Mexican fan base excited again about Checo, getting the F1 fan base excited again about Checo, getting F1 excited, like F1 fans excited about Cadillac, like making it real. having Checo at a Grand Prix in Mexico, like it almost makes it more real instead of Cadillac just being kind of like a tangible concept. It's like, no, that driver is actually back at this race. I would imagine there was some really important marketing, very important meetings, rubbing elbows with the fancy people. But then I imagine he probably did go clock in for some simulation on Sunday for sure.
And then my other thought on Cadillac participating in their weekend deal was, I wonder what car they're simulating, right? Are they simulating their 26 mock-up, or are they participating with like a watered down 25 version that they, are borrowing maybe from Ferrari, being that's their engine supplier. Maybe they've got a lot of data from them. They're running a mock Ferrari car, but or are they running the 26 and they're comparing it to the 25's data? So that's, I'm curious to know how that is actually being collected.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
I would feel like it would not make sense for them to be running the 26 car, because then it's apples and oranges. I would imagine that they're banking it off of some Ferrari 25 mods. I would have to imagine that. Like, it just, to me, it wouldn't give realistic comparative data for them to be using the 26 car when everybody else in that race weekend is in 25. So I would imagine it was with the current regulations in a Ferrari.
Yep, that would make sense.
I would think.
All right. So as we kind of wrap up the pre-race stuff, is there anything you guys want to touch on as far as qualifying? Anything stuck out to you there, other than Franco just driving over every curb and launching himself out of qualifying one?
We were having to explain exceeding track limits to someone, and I was like, yeah, all those tires have to, I was like, those 2 tires on that side have to leave. And they were like, yeah, all 4 tires. And I'm like, well, yeah, all 4 tires. Because for those tires to be off, the other ones clearly had to go off. Like, in my brain, I couldn't describe the exceeding track limits. I don't know. I only watched Q3. I was out in the garage working on stuff, but I like, even just those last 10 minutes of Q3, I was quite shocked to see the Ferraris just delivering. Like, I think I was just really blown away, especially because I didn't watch. Usually I always watch all the free practice sessions as well. So coming into qualifying, walking into Q3, seeing the Ferraris deliver what they did, I was just really blown away. I think I felt like they had something strong in Coda, and I was wondering if it would carry over. But I was like, Ferrari usually does pretty well at Coda. Maybe we'll see if they hold on to it. And they did. So I was excited to see that consistency carry over. That was my only other thought leading into the race.
Yeah, it looks like they found a little bit of
surprisingly, they haven't even had a lot of upgrades. So the fact that they can just find that pure pace in that already car is the most impressive part of it all.
Yeah, it was like even during the race yesterday when Charles on his radio said, "This is my pace." And they said, "Okay, we're staying out." I think it's clear that it's like, this is the car, this is it. And maybe they're just getting a little more comfortable with it. Maybe they're putting more time in the sim. I don't know what it is. Like, even on summer break, we all talked about how we wanted Lewis to just go spend time in the factory, getting to know that car and spending some time on it. But maybe they did. Maybe they're just getting a little more comfortable with it.
Yeah, I think that's part of their strategy for the year, of kind of coming with a completely new car as opposed to the 24 car that they came in with. Unfortunately, it's just really taken them 3/4 of the year to kind of dial it in and figure out what that car has in the way of pace. Maybe it just did a little bit better with the conditions, as far as a little bit warmer conditions, a little bit thinner air. We saw Red Bull falter, and we saw McLaren take off. So I mean, each car really seemed to benefit or not with these conditions of Mexico, like we talked about during the buildup of the race. It's a much thinner air, which, following a friend of the show, Dr. Obbs on Twitter, he was talking about the issues with Red Bull, and they're talking about their peak aerodynamic loads and how the density of the air really affects how those peak loads are handled, and the car just didn't support as much as it did weekends past. So that kind of explains the Max not being able to find as much grip as he had a few weeks ago, and while he kind of slacked out a little bit more than we were expecting. I think all of us had Max having a good showing. At least I thought he was going to be pretty dominant coming in, but it seems like that Red Bull just never really had a lot going into the week, which is unfortunate.
We absolutely shit the bed on our predictions because of that. I mean, we were all in. We've never been unanimous on a prediction ever. And we were all in on it. So yeah, I guess that does make a little bit more sense. But it does make me a little bit optimistic thinking about, like, we know Max does really well in Brazil, and maybe like he really struggled with that thinner air and stuff like that in Mexico City. Like, I'm hoping that kind of maybe it'll level out a little bit, and we'll get to see Max be really competitive in Brazil. But it does make me a little afraid for the Ferraris. If we're thinking the Ferraris are doing better in this like super hot climate, right? Hot, a little bit drier air, Makes me wonder what it's going to be like in Brazil for those Ferraris if the conditions they've been doing well under are completely different. Brazil usually is a little cooler, really muggy, brings a lot of rains.
Yep.
I don't
And
know.
I hate saying it as a Ferrari fan myself, but I almost hate that they found this pace because it feels a little bit like they're robbing a little bit of the potential for this championship battle between the McLarens and Max. I would have loved to just seen that unimpeded. Unfortunately, though, it looks like Ferrari's throwing a wrench in it and they're going to steal some points here. So
Love it.
Unfortunately, it might kind of hinder our championship battle, or at least take Max out of the equation. So that's a little unfortunate to me. But as a Ferrari fan, I'm glad that they have a little bit of pace, even if they still don't know how to use it.
So briefly, I looked into what Cadillac is doing, and there's no real discussion on what they're using for the simulator. I know they're
they ain't gonna tell that. Why would they tell that?
I know they have an operating base in Silverstone. They're using some of Toyota stuff in Germany, and their brand new facility in Indiana to kind of run the sim weekend. And November 13th and 14th, Checo will be driving the 2023 Ferrari SF23 at Imola as just kind of a test weekend.
The SF23 is my favorite.
And Ferrari's kind of lending it to them to kind of run a weekend simulator thing with a real car. But it doesn't really talk about how they're running the sim. It just talks about that they've run multiple weekends simulation through all three of their facilities globally.
So, Paul, that tattoo I want, the silhouette of that.
It's the SF23. You just got to do it. You just got to do it.
We got drunk in Austin. We didn't get that drunk, though.
Thankfully.
I'll take a trip to Houston and get you that drunk.
All right,
Listen, I can't be the only one with a car tattoo. You guys got to keep up with me.
Mine'll come in due time. In due time.
Go ahead, Josh.
Well, I was going to get into the old here. So lap one.
Let's just do it.
Let's
lap one.
Let's just
it's
get into it.
It's going to take us a few minutes to get through this. It's going to be like one of the old school videos where Paul and I go lap by lap almost because we damn near have to with this.
The first 10 were very spicy.
Like, you can tell where I started to get really into the race on my notes because all of a sudden it's like, lap, it's like, and then at lap 16, I fall off because I was like, I couldn't. If I was looking down, taking notes, then I was missing stuff. That's how action-packed this race was.
Yeah, it was so good. Like,
take it from the top, Josh.
So, I mean, we had all the drama. Lap one, the long run down to the straight did not disappoint. We had 4 wide going into the braking zone. 4 wide. This is not NASCAR. We are not on the super speedway. This is not
This was not Martinsville, boys.
This is not anything that we normally see in Formula One, let alone in a Formula One race this late in the season with these guys, these competitors. So we had 4 wide coming down. Max gets a little wide. That we had 4 cars trying to fit where really 2 should be. A little. So old buddy barely keeps out of the wall, gets up in the dirt, has to go lawn mowing through most of turn 1. Like we see him. We saw a lot of lawn mowing going on last year in Mexico. So this seems to be the theme of Mexico. So I'm going to come back to this later, but I almost think that we need to start looking at some gravel trap options in some of these places as opposed to grass. Because it's a little, because like Charles in the same spot. So you had Charles Leclerc decide he doesn't have enough room to make the apex of the corner. He also decides to go wide. It almost looked like Charles did not need to make that decision to go wide and go through the grass.
I think he did.
It seemed like the easy move to make. So I think that decision would have been a little harder had there been gravel there as opposed to grass, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But Charles goes wide, Max goes wide, Lando, unimpeded, unopposed, is able to make the corner and take off to never be seen again, leaving Lewis and Max and Charles kind of all up there battling with George Russell just watching the carnage from just behind, taking it all in and preparing himself for the best radio of the season. So what do you guys think going into that turn 1?
I mean, you said it. You talked about it during our kind of a race preview. It's such a long straight. It's going to make things very spicy. You had 2 Ferraris that had great pace. You had Max. Max is just going to be destructive because he gives 0 fucks. And George was just going to be there. So I expecting nothing less. And yeah, I mean, we'll get into the penalties here in a second, but I thought it was great. It made things interesting and made things fun, and you didn't know whether it was going to be a 4-car pileup and everybody was just going to be a massive wreck, or if they were going to make it through, and I was super pumped.
Same. I actually was a little disappointed in the Mercedes starts, though. Like, I don't know. I felt like the Mercedes starts were pretty weak, and especially with Max being sandwiched between, I thought there would have been a stronger start communication strategy of like, this is your plan. You're finding the line, like George, you're finding the line. Kimmy, you're riding Max's ass. Like there was so much, I think there was so much potential for Mercedes to make a massive move here that would have massively altered the course of the race. And I just think they had weak starts. But I thought Ferrari had really strong starts. I thought Lando had a really strong start. Oscar's start was terrible.
It was awful.
Horrible.
Terrible.
I think he dropped down to ninth.
So sad. Yeah, I was like, what in the world is going on? Yeah, I like Ollie's start was out of this world. Like Ollie and Lando are my top two for starts. Like they were incredible. I think Charles and Lewis just really immediately right out of the gate knew what they had to do. I think Charles knew what he had to do. He had to force someone wide. It was like, I gotta. I think he knew Max was right there. So I don't know. I thought it was everything I hoped for. I had almost hoped for a little bit of carnage, but then, if we would have had carnage and then there would have been flags that come out, it would have backed everybody right up. So it was actually good. I thought it was actually good that there wasn't any like red flags or anything, any big crazy crashes. I know Lance had that spin out, but overall I was happy that it didn't because it allowed Lando to start to pull away pretty quickly. I mean, it's like even up through those first few laps, he was only ahead by like 3 or 4 seconds, but then, that 3 or 4 second gap mattered a lot in the course of the race. So I thought it was exceptional and exciting right from the start.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was a little disappointed in the way that Charles decided to cover off Hamilton coming down to the braking zone. I thought that was a little unnecessary.
It was territorial.
It was very territorial. It was I don't think that was the plan. And on the Ferrari side,
But it was,
I don't see that as...
It was respectful.
It was
respectful.
But it's completely unnecessary because he should have been worried about Max. He shouldn't be worried about Lewis as his teammate. He should be worried about Max.
I was like, Paul, what is on your pinky? What is going on?
Yeah, I thought that covering off Lewis was a little disrespectful, and I think it was a little bit of show of force on like this is my team, this is my place, this is my position, and I'm gonna assert it early, and he did. But I think that allowed Max a lot more breathing room. Even though he ended up trying to go left and ended up on the dirt, I think that might have been a little bit more. He may have had a better shot going on the inside of Lando as opposed to covering off covering off Lewis on the left. So I was a little disappointed in that move. I think he could have done a little bit more without trying to impede his teammate.
My only thing is that if he had not done that, it wouldn't have forced Lewis to go where he did, which forced Max to go where he did.
But I'm watching it back and Max is the one that decided to overshoot it.
Lunge. Yeah, he lunged.
Yeah, sure. But I'm talking about immediately. Look at right off the start, like right out of the gate. As soon as he gets traction out of that wheel spin, and he immediately comes left, like hard.
No. Watching it as we speak.
Yeah, that's the part I thought was a little disrespectful.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but it's also,
I don't mind the lunge. Make the lunge. Yeah. That's fine all day long. It's just it's covering him off is where it just rubbed me wrong.
I didn't take it as that. I just took it as two teammates kind of going forward. And if you got your chance to kind of battle Lewis a little bit, go for it. He kind of gave it to him, but it was still respectful. And in the end, as you kind of got closer to that turn, he kind of gave it up and started moving a little more to the left. So, and now he's gone. He's gone forever. Now
Josh is gone.
Even the internet was like, please don't talk bad about.
He gone. He back.
Now he's back.
They're not being recorded anymore. Oh, weird. Ask Josh to refresh and rejoin from a browser, not incognito. Oh, Josh is incognito. Josh, you got to leave and rejoin.
What are you watching?
Look, they said, his opinion. They said his opinion is wrong. Kick him out. But we actually have rules set up in our recording where if one of the three of us doesn't agree and the other two, one gets kicked out.
And he was the weakest link.
Goodbye.
I was super here for that move that Leclerc did on Lewis. I thought Max was exaggerated that a little bit.
I think Max likes to exaggerate moves a lot, but I think we see it a lot. But I do think it was fair. I think it was clean racing. Like maybe it wasn't the team strategy that they had planned or whatever, but I do think all is fair in love and racing.
Absolutely. But coming into lap 6, that's when things got a lot more spicy between Max and Lewis. That's where I have the biggest issue with everything. Josh, are you there?
Yeah, I'm back now, I think.
Okay.
I think my whole Chrome crashed.
Darn.
We don't like that. All right. So Paul was about to jump in on lap 6, the lap 6-ness.
Yeah, let's kind of get into that. What did you...
yours was lap 6. Mine is lap 7. Lap 7 is where things went haywire for me.
Really? Lap 7? Whoa. Copyright, Josh. We're going to get
I know. I had to turn the sound off.
We will edit that out. Yeah, so what stood out in lap 6 to you?
To me, it was Lewis left the track. He went on the
That was lap
grass.
7.
No, I thought that was lap 6.
No, lap 6 was right when Ollie overtook Max, and then Max and Lewis were battling, and Max dove in on Lewis, and Lewis had to go off on his little adventure.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about when Lewis went on the grass.
Yeah. That was lap 7.
Yeah, so that was like a lap 6, lap 7, because it started in 6 and went to 7.
Yeah. I just like seeing Ollie, like we have to talk about Ollie overtaking Max. Just imagine that, like,
He was clean.
that
He
tall
kept it
British boy just like boom, passing in a Haas. I was like, eagles screeching, fireworks blasting in my mind. That was probably one of my favorite. Hi, Jelly.
He was just in the background, just waiting for somebody to mess up.
Yeah. I loved that, though.
With we talked about how this track doesn't get used very much. So there's not a lot of rubber already down. It's very dusty, and there's not a lot of grip there. Lewis had to do what he had to do and just jump off. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think it deserved a 10-second penalty.
I mean, unfortunately, he did. Like, he didn't have anywhere to go. He had to leave the track. Like, it is what it is. I get the rules. Like, I don't like it, but those are the rules. He did leave the track. He was all bing-bonging around those things. Like, I don't know. I think...
But the big issue was that Lewis didn't use that little road in the
that's
middle.
What I'm saying.
He went straight.
So that's where I got confused during the race myself. So he got investigated for 3 different instances in the same move. He got investigated for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. He got investigated for not using the escape road not heeding the race director's instructions with the escape road, and he got investigated for the contact with Max. So contact with Max was found to be a racing incident, no issue.
That was from lap 1, though, wasn't it?
No,
I thought that contact was from
lap 6
1.
and 7.
Was that right there? Okay.
Yeah, their front tires touched.
There were so many investigations. I got confused. So what he actually got the penalty for was leaving the track and getting the advantage, not
because you
using
said he got
the escape
a
road.
2-second advantage, right? He gained 2 seconds by doing.
And so they didn't mind necessarily that he didn't use the escape road. That wasn't what he got in penalty for.
It was that he gained an advantage because he took the route that he did.
Okay, so then Charles Leclerc should have gotten in trouble at that lap 1 incident because he also went off the track, went on the grass, and you could make the argument that he had an advantage.
But he didn't gain position.
And he gave the position back. He gave the position back.
He immediately swapped.
He did. He immediately
They
swapped.
immediately swapped it back. So he didn't gain it because he came back and he immediately switched it back.
So did Lewis go into second right after that?
Lewis, what? Yeah.
You got it up. Rewind it.
Because I'm watching it right now, and he did not give the position back. He stayed in second. So he went off the track, and he stayed in second. Sorry, we're totally just ruining this podcast because there's a lot of pauses involved. So my question is, Charles should have also gotten a penalty for that. Because he did not give his position back to Lewis going into that lap 1 incident.
Hold on, I'm watching it. So Charles got out in front of everybody. He's in first.
Correct.
He gives the place back to Max. He gives the place back to Lando. Max is still behind him. So he gave the position back to Lando. That's all he had to do because they were all vying for second.
Yeah.
So the only person he would have gained the position from was Lando. He let him have the position back.
Was it? I thought he had gotten the position over Lewis too.
No, because I mean Lewis Lewis was behind Max at this point.
I gotcha.
So anyway, I got confused with that myself because I thought he had gotten the penalty for not following the race director's instructions, but it ended up being just meaning this whole time Ferrari could have just told him to back up a little bit. Like, hey, you need to cut down, like let him catch back up, let him cut down. You don't have to get the position back, but just like let's cut down this 2-second gap.
I mean, but like I almost feel it would have been safer for him to give the position back. Like, hey, you gained 2 seconds. FIA is investigating. Go ahead and switch that position. Don't waste time. Then just go hunt. Like,
so the argument that
because 10 seconds versus giving that position back is massive.
Right. And the argument that I think Ferrari has is I think they were confused as well because later when they were explaining to Lewis what the penalty was for, they mentioned that it was due to the contact with Max. So I think in their minds that what they weren't agreeing with was there was contact there, but they didn't think it should have been a penalty and they were arguing that fact. But that by this point in time,
too late.
By this point in time, Max has already been overtaken by ollie. So Hamilton would have been down 2 positions as opposed to the 1. So it just became a 10-second penalty. There was nothing he could do about it.
Nothing you could do.
So it just kind of got, I think if only one of these things had been investigated at a time and there wasn't the confusion of everything happening at once, Ferrari may have had a better chance to advise Lewis to take a different approach to the situation. Honestly, I thought Max should have gotten a penalty for the lunge and kind of barging Lewis off into the grass with the contact
forcing a driver
wheel
off track. That's what I thought
to
the
gain an
penalty
advantage.
was. When it said FIA stewards have noted the I was like, yeah, they know that Max
100%.
forcing a driver off track. And then I was like, wait, are you looking at
I thought the same
thing?
thing. I thought Max absolutely should have gotten a penalty for that move. And I mean, he made contact with another driver, forced him off track, and then subsequently did not give him room on the outside of the racing line. I do not understand how he didn't get a penalty for that.
I don't either.
My big issue is I think 10 seconds was just too extreme. If the incident was just gaining a position, 10 seconds was just a bit too much.
It did feel like a lot. It really
felt
did.
like just way too much, way too soon. When we just talked about seconds ago, you could have penalized other drivers for doing same things or different things. And you can't just penalize one and let everyone else go by when everyone pretty much push the envelope to see how far they can get away with things.
Yep.
I did have a question though. Did Liam have contact early on? Is that why he went out? Like that was what it was? Okay.
Lance,
got it. Yeah.
Liam, Lance, and Carlos all got wrapped up, which caused significant damage apparently to Carlos's car.
Yeah.
Which I saw the interview with James Vowles later that he kind of explained that.
I didn't watch any post-race interviews or anything because I immediately switched from F1 to the NASCAR race because it was like a battle right at the same time. So I didn't watch any post-race interviews.
Did you see the part where Liam almost killed two of the volunteers on track?
You didn't see that? Yeah, he almost whacked two
Liam.
Marshall.
It wasn't
Liam's fault.
It was not Liam's fault. Those dudes ran in the track to go pick up debris and ran back. And I mean,
Marshall.
So it sounds like
do that, Marshall.
It sounds like the race control made the mistake because they thought that everybody had, which they had, the entire pack was on the other side of the track, and they didn't realize that Liam was coming out of the pits because he had like I guess they either thought he was going to just retire the car or whatever when they were doing their wing change, so they just sent the marshals to go pick up the debris. Well, sent him right into Liam's path, which is absolutely not Liam's fault, and thank God everybody ended up being okay, but that was kind of hairy.
What a mess. What a mess. But then, we had a couple other retirements. We had Alonso retire. We had Nico retire. Carlos penalty speeding in the pit lanes.
And that's... So apparently that contact, from what James Vowles had said, messed with pretty much all of the electronics in the front of the car. Both of the front wheel speed sensors were down, which I mean makes a lot of sense that why your pit lane limiter then cannot control the speed of the car. They said it was like 0.3 kilometers per hour over the allotted amount of 80 kilometers an hour. So very small margin, but still speeding is speeding. You can't.
Yeah.
Can we briefly talk about how annoying George was on the radio all race long?
Oh, I loved it. I didn't think it was annoying. I loved it. It was great.
I love Karen George so much. See, this is why I think he's not very likable, because he gets on. I appreciate, though, that he's just willing to lay it out there, though. Like, he doesn't care what the media thinks. He knows everyone can hear it, and he just is his little diva-ass self, and I respect that. I may not like him personality-wise, but I respect that he doesn't give a shit and he's going to lay it out there.
Oh, I love it.
I couldn't stand it. I thought it was far too annoying, and he clearly can't stand that Kimi might be better than him some weekends, and he was like, we got to switch it. We got to switch it. I'm faster.
I actually did agree at that moment when he was on the radio.
I agree too.
Yeah.
But it was just that on top of, hey,
I got
man,
him clearing up my ass.
Yeah, that was great.
Cool the tires. Oh, do you want me to just let him pass? No, that's what I thought. And I'm like, dude, can you just shut? And even his engineer was getting mouthy with him back, like, hey, cool your brakes. Well, I got this. We're going to need brakes at the end there, bub. So you better figure it out. And I just can't. It's another reason why I can't stand the guy.
Sounds
I'm
the guy
wearing
wearing a G Petronas F1 team shirt.
I am doing it for Kimi. I want the record to show I like Kimi.
I think Kimi had a strong race yesterday. I don't think his start was strong, but I do think he had a really great recovery. Watching that battle with Max and him and George was fun for quite the while. And then who else was that next battle with?
Well, Piastri was right there coming up on him.
Yeah, Piastri. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I thought it was really fun. I thought it was fun to see them compete. I thought Kimmy did great overall. I think it's really fun getting to see the rookies perform. I think another one we need to mention is Gabby Bortoletto coming in the points yesterday. Like I think it's really fun to watch these rookies find their groove. You know, like of course they're going to have off weekends. Like sometimes it's the first time they've driven that track. Sometimes you just have an off weekend. But I think overall they're doing very well, and it's fun to watch. It was fun watching Kimmy like come into his own. Fun watching Gabby. Fun watching Ollie. Like just really really good to see.
Yeah, I think Ollie was the
I know we're a little
driver
tight
of the
on time
weekend.
for you, Paul.
We're good. We're
You're
good.
good? Okay.
I was just gonna, we can fast forward to the end. I thought that virtual safety car was crap, and it kind of robbed us of a lot of fun battles between Max and Charles towards the end.
Yeah, it absolutely did.
Personally,
I
I'm a
hated
fan.
that.
Especially when you saw, yes, the car was smoking, I will say that, but Carlos put it in a safe spot, like it was not going to impede anybody. Nobody was in danger of anything. That safety car was complete bullshit.
So if you watch the onboard, he is just out of the barrier to where the marshals had to go outside of the barrier to push his car behind the barrier, and that's why they called the virtual safety car, which sucks. I
It does
get
suck
it.
because that racing
I
was
hate
incredible.
It was incredible, and we got robbed of probably the best end of a race of the year by far. I'm not arguing
Okay.
that fact. I hate it, but damn.
There was a moment, y'all. There was a moment before that virtual safety car came out that I was like, what if Max gets close, tries to pass, and Charles goes to block, and they just wreck and take each other out, and Ollie gets a podium? Like, I did have that moment where I was like, that is a very, very, very real possibility, where Max goes, Charles defends, they wreck, Max bumps the back, Charles spins, Max hits him, they're done. They're done, and then Ollie's a podium. I'm glad it didn't happen because I needed that for Charles. I needed that for my little Ferrari heart too. But wow.
Yeah.
Would have been cool.
Absolutely.
I did love that the safety car ended though, and we did get like one final lap. So it was a little bit of redemption that we did get that little racing right at the end.
Even though Max definitely closed up the gap under the VSC, which was a little suspicious.
It was suspicious. Did you hear the radios?
No.
They were like Max's radio team to him when they were like, it's your boy. Like Charles and Max have had really good battles historically. And Red Bull even came onto the radio to Max and they said something like, all right, time to battle your boy or something like that. And so it was a bummer. I was not clear why his DRS wing was open still when the yellow flag was out. I was like, I was a little confused.
Because it was just in sector 3. So the yellow, the double yellows were being waved in the third sector.
Oh, so okay. Because I was like, wait, what? Yeah, there was definitely still some racing taking place there.
Ooh,
yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a really fun way to finish the race. It was already dynamite. That was just an exceptional race.
And also,
down to the end.
The Mexican fans booing the hell out of Lando.
That was shit.
Yeah,
I don't care who your driver is.
Why are you booing
I don't think you boo any driver. That's like that would be like me booing Max or like me booing George.
They booed for the worst reason. They were so whiny. Oh, he gave the place back to him in Monza. Okay, great. Yeah. So they did the exact same thing flipped in Hungary the year before. So why are we complaining about this now? We didn't boo. They booed Max last year and they're applauding him this year. There's no consistency.
I just think as a fan, it's just so disrespectful to boo a driver.
Listen, Mexican fans are very passionate, but they can also turn on you very quick. And Josh is a big soccer fan, so you know all the things that come with Mexican fandoms. They've been fined, they've been banned from stadiums because they can get very homophobic, they can get very angry, and it was just up par to what they're used to. And they booed Max last year, and now they were singing his song this year. And during the podium, there was a couple Spanish content creators that were all chanting they wanted anyone else to win but Lando. And everyone in Spanish was singing it. And man, Mexican fans are not a fan of Lando this year, and you can clearly tell that.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like, everybody have your opinions, but I just think, like, as a fan, it's just disrespectful.
Yeah, and something we had talked about pretty at length, and we'll probably discuss it again tomorrow when we get this CODA video out. We discussed pretty at length that, F1 fans and at large, everybody at an F1 event has been extremely friendly and nice, and there's no hostility really towards drivers or teams if you're supporting one or the other. So that kind of flies in the face of what I feel like the entire vibe is at any event that I've been to so far. So I don't know about that one, man. I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, Mexican fans, and it's not an excuse, but it is what it is. I mean, they booed Max a couple years ago, and you saw Checo trying to calm down the crowd and be like, no, come on, let's just be respectful. But that's just some fans take it a little too far.
Yeah. I just, it's such an incredible weekend. It's always electric. Like, it's definitely on the bucket list for sure. Have to go.
Oh, I think this solidified it. I have to go more than I ever have before.
Yeah. I hope it's just as good the year that I do choose to go, though. Like, I hope the race is just as good.
Well, how did we do with predictions? Do you want to get into that?
Yeah.
Because
but I don't think y'all do.
I did good.
Predictions coming into this weekend. Josh had Max, Lando, Charles, and Colapinto finishing ahead of Gasly. So big fat goosey goose. Paul, you had Max, Lando, Charles as well. And you had Isaac and Carlos in the points. Big fat goosey goose.
Nope.
I had Max, Lando, George, goosey goose, but I did have a Sauber in the points. So thank you, Gabby Bortoletto. I am the only one walking away with the point this weekend. So that brings us to Josh 16, Meredith Josh 17, Meredith 16, Paul 13. So,
Wah, wah, wah.
What a way to finish the episode.
Just disappointing on my end.
Is that 2 weekends of goose eggs for you? Yeah, that's 2 weekends of goose eggs, which means you're really going to be setting yourself up for something nice for Brazil. I believe it.
I'm hoping for my shocker prediction for Brazil. Here we go. We're going to have rain.
I would love
Suck on that.
All right. It'll be 100 degrees and bone dry.
Probably.
It probably would. Knowing Paul's luck, it probably would.
Yeah. God, I hate this. And this was all my idea.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
the
completely
best part.
backfired.
And the fact that you went up with a heavy lead at first.
I got too big for my britches.
It's going to be just like it was for my new F1 waters. You peaked too soon.
Yep. But good times to be getting into it with, it's really tight up top now. What is it, a 4-point difference between Lando and Oscar with a 30-something odd point difference?
No.
Max?
1 point. 1 point.
1 point.
Is it just one? Maybe it's 34
between
points between
Lando and Oscar, it's 1 point.
Okay.
I love it.
What about Max to wherever he's at? Is that where I got the 4 from? Is that 34?
It's 35. 35 points from Oscar to Max. I love it.
All right.
And even that midfield, that, V-Car, Aston Martin, and Haas, really, there's really a lot of points there that can shift things around.
Yeah, I just never thought a day in my life I'd see Red Bull racing fourth in a constructors.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's 4 races to go. It is getting spicy. And it really seems like it's going to come down to the last race of the year.
Oh,
yeah, it should. And unless McLaren has a DNF in here somewhere, which is unlikely, it should.
Watch your dirty mouth, Josh.
Hey, you know what? That's
Watch your dirty mouth.
You know what? Let it be Lando. Let it be Lando. Let it get that much closer with Max in the mix. Hell, you know what? Make them one. Let's go 2 different McLaren DNFs at 2 different races and let Max just get up there and we have a 3-way battle going into Abu Dhabi. How about that?
Could you imagine?
I could, and I could. I would. I don't know what I would do with myself.
Out of the mist, Michael Massey walks in and he's the new race director for the last race of the year and screws everyone up. And Max wins again. I'm still not over that. Fuck you.
No, how about they just Lewis wins and they make him just automatic winner.
Then we have to get tattoos.
And you got to shave your mustache.
Yeah, and you've got to shave your mustache. What an episode. What a debrief.
It was fun.
It was a good
And now you get to go to work.
Yeah, I get to go to work.
I'm done with work for the day.
No, I'm a glutton for punishment. So
you are. You got to go make that money so we can take more race trips.
No, pay off my credit cards from Coda, which we'll get into tomorrow. We're going to record tomorrow, talk about our experience with Coda and how my credit card is hurting.
Boo-hoo.
It sounds like whining.
Paul.
I'm just whining baby.
Says the guy who also bought a ton new F1 merch before and after the race. You're like, my credit card's hurting. You probably spent more on random merch that you bought.
No.
Sales than you
Bullshit.
did at Coda.
It was. I bought it all on a budget. Everything is cheap.
Just because it's cheap, it adds up.
The Red Bull shirt was $30.
What are memories of this trio worth to you, Paul?
Say that to my credit score, Meredith.
No.
We've derailed this episode so much. Josh, wrap it up.
All right.
Someone's got to put us back on the leash.
Well, we'll be back tomorrow to talk about Coda. We can talk about Paul's financial problems in the next one. So just bring your statements, Paul. We'll go through them line by line, and
bring your statements.
We can discuss.
We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. I'm going to start a GoFundMe page so you guys can help me pay off my credit card bills. So please donate. Do not be shy in sending me money because I am broke.
All right.
And on that, you need to go to work.
Yeah, you got to go. All right. Well, that was Mexico. Great race. Probably the best of the year. I hope I'm wrong. I hope there's one more banger in the cards for the end of this year, but I could see this one being the one that we talk about because that was just a lot of fun.
I mean, Brazil and Vegas always seem to. I mean, Brazil for sure always seems to have good headlines, and Vegas has really turned out to be a fun track. So really, the next 2 races is going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Well, on that, we'll close this up. We'll be back with a COTA full review episode tomorrow. Have a good shift at work, Paul. Bye.
See you guys.